Start by doing roll call, and when I call your name, just please, members, please say present.
Recording in progress.
DCA Perry, Frederick
Present.
Perry,
Present.
Chief Roderick Jolivet,
Present.
Director Jason Milholland,
Present.
Director Katrina Harley,
Present.
Lieutenant Colonel Tiberius Pounds, and Chief Code Officer Russell Chisholm.
Present.
Okay, we're going to start by. Well, it seems we have enough, all of our members here, so we have a quorum. We're going to start by accepting the previous minutes from the, from my understanding, it was the August 18th, 2022 meeting. Was there any corrections that needed to be made to the minutes? Has everybody had a chance to preview those? Any corrections need to be made? No. Okay. If there's no corrections that need to be made, I'm just going to call for an A or for opposed or against. For to accept the meetings from the previous August 18th meeting, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed. The motion carries. So the minutes are accepted. All right, so we're going to move on to old business, and we're going to start with department updates. Go ahead, Chief. We'll let you go ahead and start with your department.
Basically, we're planning for the new year. 2022 is all our goals are met. We're 100% on ISO public safety initiatives that we have. 2023 is going to be a year that we're getting accredited nationally, getting our employees their physicals. First time in the history of the county's file employees have physicals for NFPA compliant. And what this does is give us an opportunity to get our employees, make sure they have issues going on with the test. So to continue to provide good service. We're excited about being at the table. We worked with everybody last year, 100%. We're going to try to do 200% this year. Make sure we get successful for one budget. And that's it for us. We want to make sure we able to work together and take care of the business.
Okay. All right. Director Jason Milholland.
Yes, sir. We start off this year kicking off on trying to get with all the departments that have continuity of operations plan from the process of meeting with each department and assisting them in updating their plans. It's going to be a slow process. It's time consuming. So we've had problems with, I think we've got 5 or 6 departments done already, and just getting them to really look at their ability to continue to operate. If a tornado comes in, wipes out their place of where they work for, how they're going to actually work must continue. So go and get them to think and think about those processes that they need, what they need to add to their continuity plan. So that's our big project this year. After we finish this, we're going to move into our emergency operations plan update and start reaching out to all the departments, which more departments are involved in emergency operations plans also than what our normal folks represented here. There's lots going on with our Department of Transportation and other people that support us. Without IS infrastructure, for example, we can't recover. So there's a lot that goes into all these plans, and it's just time consuming, but they have to be updated. They're not plans to be set on the shelf and forgotten about. They're plans that need to be reviewed and updated, and everybody needs to be aware of those plans as we move forward. So this is going to be a year of planning, as we go through these processes.
To that point, we just talked about that in the technology meeting, about you guys completing things and actually trying to, for lack of a better term, rehearse them. So in the case of an emergency, everybody knows where they're needed, and especially when we have the IT services, the software in the cloud.
Yes.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Director Katrina Harley.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to report that Douglas County E911 has no available positions. We are 100% staffed. and that was one of our huge goals last year. But with the staffing now comes training, a lot of training and retention. And so with that, we hope to institute our quality assurance program this year so that we can not only ensure that training is taking place, but that our operators are handling 911 calls as they should, because that's very important to make sure that happens. We're also working with the Community Services Board because there will be a licensed clinical social worker that will be assigned to the 911 center for those calls where there's suicidal ideation. And so we are very excited about that because with that, with having an LCSW inside the 911 center, that person will be able to 1013 involuntarily commit as needed. And so that's going to be a huge game changer for Douglas County. So we're looking forward to that. There's a lot of training that also has to happen with that as well before that's fully implemented. We're also this year going to look at our staffing models because there's a lot of growth that's happening in the county. And so we need to look at our staffing numbers to make sure that the staff that we currently have allocated for the 911 center will be able to hold and be able to ensure that we have enough staffing in order to accommodate the growth. And we also are looking forward to our CAD upgrade. Last year, that CAD upgrade was delayed. There was some programming issues with some of the fire EMS components. And so those have been worked out. So we're looking to upgrade our computer-aided dispatch system either in March or April of this year. We're waiting for Central Square, which is the vendor, to come back with some training dates for us and the date that they can upgrade that and they can have staff available in the 911 center to make that happen. And lastly, our radio systems administrator is working with the public safety entities to reprogram all of the public safety radios. So he's now on E911 and EMA since we have very little, and then his next huge project will be fire, and then he'll move on to sheriff, which is our biggest customer. And that's it for E911.
Go ahead, Chief. For the record, public safety, who's the first responder? Who are the first responders?
You want me to answer that?
The sheriff's department?
It would be E911.
She made that clear about it.
The first responder.
Vice Chair.
Thank you. So, Director Harley, I'm excited to hear that you have an LCSW that will be joining. Will that be an employee of the county or will that be an employee of CSB?
CSB.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so
CSB. And they will they'll work the overnight shift. And the most exciting part about it as well is not just having that person physically in the 911 center, but they'll also provide in-service training to the staff to talk about things like vicarious trauma and just all of those things that immediately affect the staff. So we're excited about that.
does this tie into the 988 system or the system where people can call in case they're having mental emergency?
So it does in that it will, when that person is working, it will alleviate the need for that connection because we'll have that person right there that will interface with the caller.
And you said 1013 for those of us who don't know what 1013.
When they're involuntarily committed. Mm-hmm.
And so this item is under that out of CSB.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. All right, are we done?
Yes.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, then for the Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Colonel Tavarius Pounds or Deputy Chief Connor.
The only update I did about it, at one point we were 60 positions short. We thought that number, we got it into a good number, we wasn't gonna do more people. And then Bob said, you know, so we're now back at 50 positions short. Yeah. We're still trying to get more people in the field, you know, so really taxing on the people that have to continue to work overtime. Not even safe, I don't say it's not safe, but you have to work for the hours that they do for the overtime. But definitely in the back of the jail, when you got, when it's built, for at least 6 people to run, before we only got 2 people running. That's all I got.
That pretty much sums it up. Staffing issue, we're continuing to face. We hired 8, lost 6.
We hired 6, lost 7.
Okay. We're spinning our wheels.
Let me ask the chief, are we losing them to other counties, or are they choosing another profession?
And it's both. Some are getting out law enforcement, some have health issues, one law don't fit with people.
Is it like some of them an aging issue, they're retiring, or just health? Or?
No, not for that particular health issue. It's just not that easy. One lady left to go to get next stuff paid more. The other lady got out of law enforcement altogether and was gonna work from home, making the same amount of money or more. Sitting home and working from home.
And I'm sure we can answer this one, but Vice Chair, have we done a study, that maybe someone can answer for me, we've done a study for regards to comparison of how we pay, and of course, I know we have great benefits and everything. Is there any plans from the sheriff's office? I know 50 is a lot. The job fairs, anything coming up that we might be participating in?
Well, we've done job fairs in the past. We get people to do it. I think probably maybe if that and 2 people out of our job fairs, maybe 1 year, that's 2 people came from the actual job fair. We held a time in the last year, right? And we had, I think 70 people. I think it was 70 people that actually came over that really good. We got quite a few. And some of those, you gotta understand, out of the 70 that we did get, probably only 35 qualified. And then that number will really reduce as the process goes on, as the time process goes on, because they got to for whatever reason, they just can't make it. So out of 70, we may really lucky to get 15 to get that. So maybe I only think that's 16. So we make some steps on that, but to answer your question, yes, we are going to do another time. Even if you don't make our job, we all try ideas about like military bases and people that kind of live in the fastest thing in life, and possibly want to look at law enforcement, what's that good, but no one wants to do this job. So, especially, because of what bad law enforcement officers have done in the past, maybe everyone would say, because of the pay, because of the hours, you know, people just want to.
Yes, well,
Those who say that, as far as just the salary, from the salaries, there would be some new target. See if we raise ours $2, our county across, Cobb County, the rate is 5 or even higher over there. They're able to give, hiring bonuses and things of that nature that fiscally we can look at a number of things over the years, and it's just a high ticket item. So it's not saying that we should not continue to explore. We tell people to consider it, but it's more the good ones that we have. And
Speak up, Fred.
Target. So everybody in this boat, as far as law enforcement is concerned, looking for the same type of skill set, the same type of and it's just harder to attract them.
yeah, I've seen many times that our county is not the only county that you drive around anywhere. All there are signs on the roadways. They have big billboard signs now everywhere that you go. I understand that everyone's having a shortage, but
that's something that's,
Absolutely.
to his point, is absolutely right, so. Not necessarily in Cobb County, it's, even if the city of Douglasville, if we raise up, they're gonna raise up, because there is a competitive market, like you're saying, and they're trying to get people as well. You can go work security at a Quick Trip or a racetrack or whatever it is, and they start off with more than you do. So let's do the math here. Do I make $35,000 on a Quick Trip working an 8-hour shift or something may happen? Or do I go out there and work for less than that, working longer hours for less money? Well, I know something is going to happen. It's not if, it's when. So we can't, like you said, we can't compete with that. And by the time we catch up with those other people, they shot past us again. We're gone in a whole other dimension. And we, like you said, we can't compete. They're giving, like you said, sign-on bonuses, stipends for living within this county or the city. It's a lot. Shift differential. It's a lot that they're offering. Now, I do understand that we may not have as much money as most cities or most counties. You know what I'm saying? But everything west of us, we should be attracting to the economy. And that's fine.
Maybe this conversation we can sit down at some point and brainstorm about. Is it okay? That on the 10th. All right, we'll move on to Chief Code Enforcement Officer Russell Tizon.
Yes, sir. So just first, as the newest department to come into the committee, so I thank everyone for the invite and the opportunity to sit here, and hope that we are able to contribute as well as some of the other committee members as we move forward with it. And the short department update that we can give right now is in fiscal year 2022, the board blessed us with 4 additional positions to hire for. And we were fortunate enough so far to hire 3 of those 4 by the end of 2022. There is 1 slot we still have to fill. We're going to anticipate doing that in March or April of this year, and that will round us out and basically doubles the size of our department to 9 people, 9 or 10 people now. So from an update point of view, that's beneficial for us to get out into the community. We can be more proactive now with some of our investigations rather than just waiting on complaints to go out and do stuff. So that proactivity will also help, not just to write citations, we're not just to write citations, but it'll also help us have more feet on the ground to help educate HOAs and just the citizens at large in and out of subdivisions. So hopefully we can be proactive and educational at the same point. We've always had a very good working rapport with the sheriff's office, and we hope to continue that moving forward. Always had great positive feedback. Fire department, every agency in the county, we seem to have a real good line of communication both ways with, and just looking forward to continuing forward doing it. That's about the only update I have right now.
You know that just from reviewing some of the minutes from the previous meeting, maybe one of the 2 of you can update about that. But we were expecting some new vehicles possibly this year.
Yes, so we did, along with the 4 additional personnel we were budgeted also for vehicles, and then there was just a shortage with the vehicles that made us hold off on the hiring until the end of 2022. Those 4 vehicles were ordered in September of 2022. We anticipate them coming in within the next couple or 3 weeks, hopefully. Right now, our newest officers are actually doubling up with some of the more seasoned officers that we have in our department. That should only last for a couple 3 weeks. We reach out to the dealership and try to get an ETA on those vehicles. I haven't heard back yet. So that will obviously help individualize everybody, so just keeping them too concentrated in this area. So we'll be able to spread out here real soon, and we still cover the entire county. We'll just have more presence, and each person will have a smaller area to cover, which will, I think that will help tremendously with those particular sections and quadrants of the county that we're going to cover.
In terms of commercial or residential violations, are either up in the past year that you've seen that you need to be more aware of? Or because you know that if we are keeping a hold on that, then we also help the sheriff department and everybody else with your presence, be vigilant. We keep those areas up to date. We let people know we're watching, you know, in terms of loitering, in terms of the homeless population that tends to be transient and moving around. We're keeping watch on that. We need to somewhat alleviate from the sheriff's.
Correct, yes, ma'am. So residential and the commercial complaints they have, and from what I'm hearing and seeing, I feel like the numbers that we're tracking, they have increased over the last 12 calendar months, in our department. For some of the homeless, camps that we were talking about, I actually just had a property yesterday off Porter Road, at the request of one of the private property that was in the industrial area back near Sweetwater Creek. We addressed that situation. We're in the process of addressing a few other areas that just come to our attention. Coming back to the good relationship we have with the sheriff's department, some of our ordinances allow us to address things a little bit quicker than the laws that the deputies can enforce. Just for certain reasons, the ordinances give us sometimes a little bit quicker access from a citation point of view and moving from the property point of view without having to go through eviction processes and getting these timelines. So, that's where that good relationship comes back and forth. And we always, if there's certain things that we can still do from an ordinance point of view, but we start getting difficulty at the property with an individual or a group of individuals, the sheriff's department is always extremely quick and very open to respond to assist us. So we haven't had any problems or pushback with accomplishing what we need to accomplish.
Sure. Anything else? All right. I know that we all discussed, or I've reached out to all of you in regards to the upcoming needs for the SPLOST that recently passed last year. Talking with some of my other commissioner colleagues, they were asking for, I know that we have a wish list of, everybody's going, when you ask for a list, they're going to give you a list a mile long. But, I asked for some of you to narrow it down to let me know about, or us to know about your top 5 things that you would like to put on a priority list. So as we start to gather and get with David on getting everything prepared as what we can and cannot get forward, we'll have a better understanding. Is there anything that you guys would like to discuss in this meeting of high priorities that you have with your department at this time?
Sure.
Okay.
Previously, we do know that the 2022 SWAT has passed, which is great, right? And we know that there are needs. We do know off the top that our first priority is safety. That's what the citizens of Douglas County prioritize for us. So we know that the sheriff's cars are top priority because we know we can't have our sheriff's department deputies out there not being breaking down on the side of the road. That's just not good. So we know that is a priority, but we did ask for every public safety team to come to the table and give us what you need. Not that we can do everything like Commissioner Alfred said, if we at least have your list. And as our interim county administrator here can help us prioritize those long-term projects, what could possibly be put on the spot, and then what will go into our capital improvement project list. So in terms of that, it was my hope and Commissioner Alvarez's hope that you would bring to the table what you needed. We also invited the coroner's office because you are a part of public safety. You know that, of course, we have a building as well as the E911 building that we must complete, but that you do have needs such as equipment. So as we're prioritizing that, we can put them in the correct categories and budget accordingly. So if you don't mind, we could start with coroner, maybe go down the list.
Well, thanks, Vice Chair. Coroner Renee Goblin, would you like to, I know that you've emailed me over this, but is there anything you'd like to explain?
Well, yeah. Again, we thankful for the invitation to participate in this meeting for public safety. But just a brief update on where we are from last year to moving up. We were able, with the cooperation of E911, we got our radio system up and running now. So the deputies have radios, they've been assigned radio numbers. Thanks to the Board of Commissioners, we were able to get some new cars and 2 trucks. So they've been equipped and they're up and running. Fire chief has been very helpful with us in making sure that we have the right equipment that's needed. Right now, we're looking at maintaining the pace of last year of death, close to 400 deaths for 2022 that we responded to. A good 55% of those deaths were what the state classified as obese. So the stretchers that we currently have are collapsing on us because of the weight of the death. The fire department has been very instrumental in helping us assist when we have obese decedents. So we're gonna definitely be looking at 2023 to get the kind of stretchers that the fire department has on their cameras. They're called Stryker, but they are expensive, close to $40,000 per stretcher. But it will hold the weight that we need in order to facilitate transport for the decedents that are classified as obese. Trained, everyone has been recertified, is currently up to date in their training and service hours as far as the state requirement. We've added an additional class of sensitivity training because of the different circumstances in dealing with the decedent's family. Especially when we get some that are out in the wood and decomposed and family wants to see the body, so we felt the need that we need to invest in some more training to help the family understand why they can't see the body in the condition that they're in. So we look forward to 2023 for our new building. We've done some tours. We probably toured last year with Mr. Worthington. We probably went out to maybe 15 sites throughout the state, looking at their facilities and their needs. And so we kind of got a grasp on what we need. So we did a site visit with some of the commissioners, city administrator, county administrator. So we kind of got an idea of what we need. Madam Chair also participated in the site visit. So we look forward to putting those plans together. Additional equipment, we did lose 2 personnel, so we're down 3 cars. We're trying to have it where at least 2 deputy coroners respond to call because of the obesity and weight. And with the stretchers collapsing that we have, so definitely gonna need additional equipment. We're still looking, working on accreditation. We have a national accreditation for the coroner's office, international accreditation. So we're still at those things in process, but again, as we continue to build on this building block, all those things will fall in place so we can qualify. There's some grants that's going to be available for the state coming forward in 2023 that we're going to apply for. And hopefully, if we get them, present it to the board, that you all will approve that we will accept. We're trying to go for the grants that are non-matching funds. We understand the need where money is tight, so we're trying to apply for those.
So your priority, of course, would be the building. Do you all have an estimate of what that may cost?
Close
Or
to
are you just waiting?
3.5 million.
So I just wanna make sure, county administrator, the day before, that I had an opportunity to meet. So survey job back in June, at the Richard Capital thing, where we provided us with a data for that. So those trying to get, we talk to, operators, what has changed since then? What limited ability you may have to change those numbers. So we're gonna talk about your office in particular, you all provided us with like $625,000 expenses, not $3.5 million. So we're trying to reconcile not only prioritizing, but the gap between 625 that you provided us with $3.5 million for a single item. That's part of this discussion.
Well, yeah, part of it was based on us being in the existing building that we were currently occupying.
So we have new construction for a building for $500,000.
I don't know what that.
You know what?
When we, back in June, when we asked for capital, then when we asked, during the budget process, so we asked in June, and then when we asked again in December, new construction was 2.5.
Commissioner, it may be helpful at some point, maybe after this meeting, providing about what they gave us. Yes, I can go back and evaluate. I don't know how much room we have to change that list and present it to the public. But we're gonna have to, reconcile what those priorities are and what dollar amounts that were provided to us. We didn't make the numbers up. It came from y'all at some point in time. So we're gonna have to reconcile what those numbers are, but, I'm gonna tell you 3.5 isn't the number you want. I'm not saying, it's not to make an assessment of whether or not that's the right number or the wrong number. It's just, we're trying to make it relative to the money that have been made available by the public to be able to be done. Particularly the SWAT is limited. All of public safety has to come out of a certain category. So that, again, puts further pressure about identifying what can be paid for now versus what can be paid for over time. So part of this is an exercise to assist you in coming to look at, our recommendations from public safety.
You need to let us know as far as your personnel is one, right? We can get that, but as far as your building, that's what you need to be spot on.
Right.
Okay.
I mean,
Not one director.
Yes, okay, so, we have, our E911 backup facility. The facility itself, was not, included because 911 does have fund balance, to build the building. What was included was the installation and configuration of dispatch consoles, along with the network infrastructure. One of the things that we will need to do at some point is we'll have to have our vendors, AT&T, Motorola, and those folks, to actually physically go over to the current backup 911 facility to see what, if any of that equipment can be used, so that we won't have to incur that expense of purchasing new equipment, because everything in the current facility is redundant. So those things that are in our current backup facility mirror what's in our current 911 center. And so a lot of that equipment is probably salvageable and usable and can be moved into a new facility. One of the biggest things that we came to learn as we were purchasing new equipment for the existing 911 centers, that 12 years ago when our existing center was built, the 24/7 use chairs were about $500 a piece. So when we went to purchase some this year, we came to know that those same chairs, of course, they've changed over the years, are about $2,500 a piece. So that cost has significantly increased, and that was not part of what we originally thought. So that's been a huge increase, and so we're working towards rectifying that. But that's the biggest thing as far as the backup facility. Um, and then on the list also, I included kind of a like to have that wasn't necessarily on the list, and that was a refresh of our building. It is 24/7 use, and so we've had to. One of the things that I've come to learn, um, 5 days shy of a year being in this position, is that there were a lot of things that were kind of just patched over the years, and so we're beginning to have to start to replace a lot of things, and so that building does need a refresh. I know that Deputy County Administrator Perry, when he visited with us over the Christmas holidays, that those chairs were pretty bad. And so, those things and the carpet and just things inside of the 911 center do need to be refreshed. And the last thing is Next Generation 911 is driving what 911 centers, your public safety answering points across the state are having to do. And so with that, I will be looking at a Viper 7 upgrade, and that's our phone system. Because right now our phone system does not separate those calls that are emergency from those calls that come in through an administrative line. Viper 7 does that, and it's important as with Next Generation 911 as we move towards what's called ESNet, and that is an emergency services IP network. And that's very expensive. And right now, I know that the Georgia Emergency Communications Authority, the state agency, was looking at potentially federal monies to be able to provide municipalities with the ability to establish ESNet. The issue is, I was having a conversation with our AT&T guy, is that we're going to have to start the upgrades because the technology in the Next Generation 911 is going to demand and drive that we do so. So whether that conversation be this year or 3-4 years from now, we don't really know just yet. I know that some of the larger counties have established ESNet, and at one of our last meetings, Kennesaw State had looked at it, and their 911 center was kind of, as far as the number of people in the 911 center, similar to ours, but the cost is about $15,000 a month. So, but that's going to be a conversation that we most definitely are going to have as a county.
So are you,
Yes, sir.
So right now, we've got about $500 capital improvements that have been identified. Is that consistent with what you know or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In terms of the technology and those types of things, I heard you say that the state is trying to identify funds. In the case they don't, how would that be funded? Would that come out of fund balance? Would that be looked at as something that the county would be picking up? Is that something that, we need to budget for in terms of IT and procurement, looking to implement those types of things? Like, this is why we're having this meeting, because all these entities really need to know how to forecast.
So it would most definitely have to involve the county. The 911 enterprise fund alone could not fund ESNet. It is very expensive, and I wanted to begin the conversation after the service user agreement conversation that we got passed last year. But it's definitely a conversation that we have to begin, because next generation 911 technology is driving what 911 centers do and the services and the ability to provide the services to the general public. And so what will eventually happen is that vendors, well, AT&T being the main vendor, won't be able to support those agencies and municipalities who have not moved forward. So it's definitely a conversation that we're going to have to begin to have. Like I said, it won't be this year, but 3-4 years down the line, it will definitely be a conversation.
How much of that capital program do you provide? Pay-go or is it immediate?
What's immediate now is just everything for the backup facility. Because we had, 2 years, because the coroner's office is currently occupying the administrative section of our existing backup 911 facility. And so I am kind of on their timeline, because their timeline to move out of the building, because of course we're not physically in the building, we have equipment in the building that is operable as a backup. So I'm kind of on their timeline, but once we get going with building, the land has already been identified for the backup 911 facility, and it's land that the county already owned. And it was originally, from my understanding with historical knowledge from Director Milholland, you might be able to help me with that one. That land was originally looked at for our current 911 center. So when I met with Mr. Worthington, Director Worthington, he said because of that, a lot of what needs to happen has already happened with that land. So the build for our backup 911 center is not going to be as lengthy as it would be for the coroner's office. So with that, just those things that immediately that would go into that backup 911 facility.
That would be moving that equipment, making sure that equipment works. I'm assuming that we have service level agreements on those equipment.
We do. Motorola, AT&T, and all of those vendors. They are pricey though, even with moving existing equipment. And Fire Chief can speak to that. They charge quite a great deal to store and to move equipment. So it's an interesting process. It's been kind of a learning process working with Fire Chief with Station 4. So
one price they gave us on particular item, we accepted. Remember
the 20,000.
Yeah. Not only that, it was 11 million.
Oh yeah. That was the radio system.
Yeah, we told them for one step and they dropped down
to 8.9.
But they tried us.
8.9. So you really working with the vendors that are public safety vendors is they have a monopoly on the business, and so with that, it requires a great deal of negotiation and going back and forth, and we were very fortunate that the county did hire Tusa Consulting to navigate that process with us, and so when they sent stuff back, we would just kind of send it back to them. But it's interesting working with them. So the prices it's kind of hard to give a hard number because we went from almost 12 million to 8.9.
Is it, did you have?
One more question.
Go ahead.
Again, some of us are exploring for the first time, but we've only got about $5 million for the next 5 years in terms of capital. Does that accurately reflect, or is there something you need to change with respect to the CIP, your capital plan in the next 5 years? Right? I'm trying to get a sense that, again, I'm hearing a lot of different things, but I don't know if they're reflected in what you're talking about. Some of them may make this blossom in terms of this wish list of what probably needs to be on the
to at least make us aware that some of this is coming down the pipe. I'm not seeing maybe I'm missing it, or maybe I'm not seeing everything.
Right, so when we had the conversation about the capital improvements, it was mainly just for that backup 911 center. But of course, that meeting was had, in the summertime of 2022? And so since that time, there have been other things that have come to my purview, in terms of what we needed and what we're going to need. And so one of the things that we're going to need that Viper 7 upgrade. I don't have a cost for that yet. We're working with AT&T to get a cost for that because that was not included. And it may be something that potentially 911 could pay for. I won't really know until I have a cost for it. But I think that the $5 million would definitely help in terms of would be sufficient in terms of the backup 911 facility and what we would need in order to bring that up. Yes.
And the design, that includes everything.
That should include everything because we do have fund balance as well. I'm sorry, did I? Okay. Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Porter? Okay. If there's nothing else, our EMA director, Jason Milholland.
As far as process go, it's one thing I thought would be useful for all the departments is having a larger mobile command unit. The sheriff's office has one that mainly used for SWAT operations, but we've used it before in the past on other type of information. It's not large enough to have all the folks in there. Don't have to have, but it should be nice on bigger events for people, for the different public safety agencies that go on scene. Where my emergency operations center is long term, it's recovery, it's in there managing events over long term. A mobile command vehicle is on scene coordination. I'm probably the one that least use a mobile command vehicle. It's more for fire, EMS, sheriff, police, DOT on the scene coordinating together. That's just one I say is a possibility. But it can, one that you those sides that you have, you like say you probably need 5 people and 6 people need to work.
Well, it's multi-purpose. We use it for hostage negotiations. We use it to store SWAT team equipment. We use it for command staff to be kept up on events. Our drone team sets up a camera and cameras on it, but the screen so that we can see real live what's going on. And I really honestly, they can't be a big one big enough, really for our needs. We have to have separate type vehicles, and that's kind of what we were looking at doing is separating, having a CERT team vehicle, having a command center, and when you're doing hostage negotiations, you can't have people talking in the background. We've run into this before where we're all confined to an area and somebody's back there talking unrelated, and the guy hears somebody laughing in the background, so you think this is funny, I'm fixing to kill him. And so, there's a real need, and unfortunately, as we're going to learn, there's not enough money to go around this room to do this county what it needs in public safety. But that is one on our list, and this one that we have was constructed back in 2007. It's dated equipment, dated surveillance equipment, and like the director stated, things have been patched over the years because they've just not been. But I'll go back on that. It's definitely a need for public safety to have several different command style vehicles. Because the fire chief's needs is going to be a little different than mine, and we can all be involved in one incident. Where it's a search and rescue for a
an autistic child to, hazmat situations. There's different needs and truly we all need one separately that fits our needs.
It's just one I've seen over the last few events and everything, that's where the mobile command vehicles are very crowded and need, there just needs to be more room for us. But, and so normally I'm there for a little bit and I'll go open up Emergency Operations Center. But it's more, not really for EMA, it's for, just for county, county public safety, it's what I've observed of late. As we get more and more of these incidents, they're picking up and just having that ability to get there so those folks can coordinate there. And my job, the ones I work with know, I go there, what do you need, what can I help you do? They do the hard work. I just try to help them get where they need to facilitate their jobs. So that was just one of those. One thing we can look at is usually in February, March, there's an Homeland Security grant for that. So we need to get together and coordinate that together because if we're competing against each other, that's bad. So let's pick the battlefield we want to go to Homeland Security with and ask for this, that, or the other. And that would alleviate some of the spark. We just got to plan it together and get everybody to agree. So we from these grants for Homeland Security and things like that, if we're going to that. This is what the community wants. This is what all the public safety entities want. This is what we're asking for. It puts you higher when they see multiple applications for the same county for different things they have. Somebody's going to lose. So it's just an idea we can work together with before these opportunities come up in between February and March. Normal, but they let us know when they're ready for us, and then when we go out, we can look at it and try to have another meeting and discuss what's that number one priority, and we can let people at the state level know that this priority one, you can't afford that. Look at this is our second priority.
But this is why this committee exists. So we start working in silos and putting in all these different applications.
I'd like to ask for your dog for one second. Is it possible, it makes sense, we're not looking at the same piece of paper, and I'm hearing the news of it. But I think we need to share with y'all, maybe the survey results y'all gave back to us in June. Let's talk about what has changed, and have the reason behind that. So I think it's probably fair that you give us a minute to maybe give copies that we have to everyone. Sure. And then come back in a couple of minutes. We really need to go through that with you. Some of it matches, some of it doesn't. Doesn't mean you can't have it. But some of it won't. Some of it will make us lost, but some of it not. I think we probably all need to get on the same page about what's been presented up in June, what's the budget process. I just need to make sure that we're all on the same page about at least what's on that list, what should be sure, what should be. It's not about what shouldn't be, but then what is funded for. Before we can get to that one, I think we need to figure out what should be on the list.
I think that's great.
So,
all right.
Get a copy made for.
Yeah, we're going to take just a 5-minute recess to get everybody copies made.
You want to do the CIP or you want to do SWAT?
I like to summarize CIP.
Okay. Okay.
I can put it all in one place with all public.
With that, can we get what was presented to the citizens as the SPLOST? Because I know when I was proposed, it wasn't spelled out in great detail. So I'm just curious to see what you said was presented.
Provide that. I think that's probably so we can all
Right.
see what it is.
We'll take a short 5-minute recess. recess and continue. We left off with EMA Director Jason Milholland. Was there anything else, Jason Milholland?
No, sir, I don't think we do.
Okay. All right, then we're gonna move on to, our Chief Code Enforcement Officer, Russell Tizon.
Yes, sir. Our department, just from a priority and the request point of view, very, very simple and straightforward. I just, handed you Commissioner Alfred, we just handed just a quick printout that I put together before the meeting. I was waiting on a couple of quotes back from our, Ford dealership, who supplies the vehicles, and I didn't hear back from him by 2:00, so I put this together based on what we already had. So the two priorities for our department, that you can see in the hand that I gave you, we do have 4 new vehicles that were, again, coming out of the 2022 budget. We're extremely grateful for that, and certainly don't mean to sound ungrateful with this first request. But the first of 2 priorities would be 4 additional new Ford F-150s for our current fleet, simply because the 4 oldest vehicles that we have in our fleet, we do have one which is a 2000, one which is a 2002, and then we also have 2 vehicles that are 2005s. So that request would simply be to bring 4 additional new ones in, and some of those older ones we would just set aside as spare vehicles for our department in case of breakdowns, or if there's other departments down in the development or planning area that need access to some vehicles that they don't have. The estimated cost, I was waiting for an official quote. I just went off of what we did out of last year's budget. The estimated cost per vehicle would be $44,000, coming up to a total of $176,000 for those 4 vehicles. And then the second list item would be the purchase of 10 public safety radios, and those would be primarily for in-department use. We would have access to the sheriff's department as an emergency call if we needed that. Those would primarily be for our field officers as we're out in the field, separated from each other. If there were questions, problems, issues, or concerns, we could just get in touch with each other above and beyond our county cell phones that we have. The estimated cost on a high end would be $6,000 per radio, and that comes from a conversation I had with Andy Pieces over in the E911 center, I believe, for a total of $60,000. So the grand total request for those 2 items would be a grand total of $236,000. As for the remaining items 3, 4, and 5 on our priority list, right now we feel like we're going to be a pretty low impact department on this. The primary stuff that we need throughout the year is handled through our annual budgeting process, and the board, as I said, especially the last few years, the board's been extremely generous in grading our requests. We don't make outlandish, unnecessary requests, and we're pretty good with getting what we need from the board members through our annual process. So this is just really above and beyond, and it would be great to have, but we'll continue to move forward with more.
Any questions, comments? Sure.
One of the things that I did just mention to Mr. Corbin is the need for vehicles. As we see, vehicles are really old. We're talking about vehicles that are 20 and 22 and 23 years old, because we don't have a replacement policy. We don't have anything moving forward. If we need to look at leasing vehicles so that we keep refreshing our equipment, because again, I heard the sheriff's department was swapping out parts and stuff, and here you are presenting 2000, 2001. That's not good, right? So we got to do a better job of handling this. This should not be, or county else. Just wanted to make that. There's no to bring it to us.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Great, thanks, Vice Chair. Okay. If nothing else, we're going to move on to the sheriff's department. So Colonel just walked out. Mr. Chief Deputy Connor.
And I have had a chance to review this, and I don't know, there were things that were submitted back when we did a capital expenditure for the projection, and then after that, there may have been another one like you you stated. But there have been several conversations, and this is a updated version of the last thing I sent, and it may have been to Commissioner Robinson at his request. I'll have to look back in my email system to see exactly where that request was sent and who it was provided to. So in the presentation, that we were asked to narrow down to, I think, 5 things, and in that was the vehicle refresh. There was the building maintenance, and I know there was flock safety was on the bottom of the list, and I want to say that there was one in the 4th position that I have to recall, but so like the 911 center, our building was built in we started occupying in 2012. It's a 500,000 square foot building with 340 employees, 24-hour building, and we house average daily population of about 70 to 750 inmates. We have a full-time maintenance crew that are employees that keep the facility the best they can, but things are breaking, things are getting old. And so under the 4 categories, the first thing is the 10 CERT-Team vests that are outside the 5-year expiration date, and I see that here on the list. That would be our number 1 priority for those, because they go into the situations that the other deputies are on the perimeter to. The second project that we would put high on the list is the dry fire suppression system. And we've talked about this, but this particular room is our main electrical, and also it is our server room. They're together in one room, which probably wasn't a very good design, thinking back on it. But the fire suppression system covers that water, and we've had several instances where our maintenance people have close your ears, Fire Chief, have cut off the fire or the water to the room, but it's like on a fail safe that if something happened, it would bypass it and then go to it. Well, with our power shortages and power outages, it's tripped that switch and it's loaded the system with the water. And so I don't know how much electricity comes in that room. That's something that Captain Sword could tell you, but apparently they have to put on a suit and or some kind of rubberized arms or suit that you can't get close or it'll get you. So we're looking to replace that water system, what's supposed to be in there, with this chemical that takes out the air, and it's approximately $100,000. The by not doing that, the complete building would be down, the network would be fried, we'd be replacing servers, and we would have to outsource 750 inmates to the tune of about $50,000 a day to another facility. So $100,000 is not is a kind of an insurance policy that will save us a lot in the long run. The third thing is the Black Creek jail system. Y'all very familiar with this. We've talked about this over the years. I think it was listed. We listed at 3.5. Our consultants are saying 3.5 to 4 with inflation. This is a total tear out and reinstall of a new system that's non-proprietary. But the jail Black Creek system controls everything from the intercom speakers to the lights to door access, all the surveillance cameras and DVRs. So it's gonna be a very large project, and it's currently running Windows 7, which is out of end of life, out of support, and so we've been kind of patching that along, and that's a year 1 project that we need to. And there's things that we can start doing now. I don't know what is anticipated as far as waiting for the revenue to come in, or if the county's looking to get loans to anticipation. But there's things that we can start start doing now, is start putting this in place to get it going, depending on what the county's position is.
Big Hunter, did you get with the Alex Betancourt IP for some of this, for the, technology?
No, we have our own IT department that is equivalent to
Right.
the counties. And this is something that I think I was told there's only two, trying to think of the term, that they oversee the projects. But there's like only two that do it, and one I think is New South and the other one, but for correctional facilities.
Oh, okay.
And, but it's not really a server type issue, it's a complex, system that's standalone to our other network that, is I'm not saying he wouldn't know anything about it,
No.
but even our IT department, they don't do this. We
So
do.
this would totally be outsourced.
Right, we deal with the vendor on this, and we have a consultant that is our liaison, because we have had issues in the past. But they've actually, we have a full-time employee of this company that's on site to keep this system maintained and running. We have since day one. So, this is not something that we should have ever had to have a full-time employee to keep a system, a surveillance system, and all operable. So that's where we're at with the Black Creek system, and that's one of our high priorities. Now, on this list, this 50 vehicles that was noted, that's fully equipped. Now, this is replacement. So we've got 245 vehicles in our fleet. The 50 vehicles, when it was put on here, was for the patrol division. They were, at the time running 24 hours a day and needed replacement. As in fact, we lose about 6 vehicles a year due to the car accidents and crashes. So we were trying to get in there to at least get 10 a year for the next 5 years as just replacements and that's not to replenish. So on number 4 is what we were talking about with the SPLOST, was a complete refresh. So actually at the time I thought it was a 5-year SPLOST, but a complete refresh over the next 6 years of all 245 vehicles. And they're not, there's different departments got different needs, and like patrol may have a Tahoe, we may have a truck for CID that they can haul stuff and do stuff, or a small narcotics vehicle or something. So it wouldn't be $80,000 for 245 vehicles. It's going to be dependent upon the department. But I think when I submitted the last one, it was around 18 million, and I'm guessing I don't know if anyone's been car shopping, but they've got an upcharge now, a market adjustment. I looked at a vehicle this weekend that had a $7,000 market adjustment over MSRP. So inflation is taking off, and that's. So when we did this network refresh, it was that's what was given to me at the time from our IT department, was the $500,000. When he actually did research and actually got quotes back, the network switches are over 10 years old, and they're end of life now. Some of them are, and this estimated cost 1.8 just for the network switches. The network core, he's saying that we'll be good till about year 6, but come year 6, it needs to be replaced. And then the network firewalls, he's saying what we've got in place is good, but in 6 years, be looking for to replace the network firewall. So kind of try to stagger it so you know what the importance is of the infrastructure of the network, and what years we're looking down the road to replace. The next page is just general building maintenance. Some of these things are high priority. Some of them are kind of like a won't. And give an example, the roof anchor pressure test. So we can't have anybody clean our building anymore because the anchors on top have to be load tested. And then, once it's load tested, then we can have somebody come clean the windows and clean the building. You know, we've talked back about, trying to hire people. You know, when we bring somebody in, they're coming in our building and we got this white stuff coming out, draining out of the bricks and, and the building's not looking good, the landscape is getting bad. You can't sell that. You know, they come in, they see that. I mean, I'm not saying that's all of it, but, you want your first impression, your curb appeal to be, to be accommodating. So, there is some money to do some landscaping, but, so the kitchen equipment, this is a 12-year-old building, we serve 3 meals a day, or two meals a day, and 750 inmates. So this kitchen equipment, although it's commercial grade, it's 12 years old, it's used every day, twice a day. So it's getting where it needs to be replaced. We just recently had a tray washer that was down for 6 months waiting on parts. And we were having to serve off styrofoam trays. And so that was 1,400 trays a day that went to our landfill. And the cost of that. So it's finally up and running. The chillers, this is a big building. There's lots of equipment. We replaced one of the chiller rebuilds last year, and the chiller 2's in need this year. I'm not going to go down this whole list. You can read it. There's lots of building maintenance needs. The law enforcement gear, we are sometimes first on the scene, and this is a wish list. We'd like to have some AED machines in our vehicles so that we can offer that first assistance, because oftentimes we're there first in some medical emergencies and other things. The rest of it is just general law enforcement needs. Currently, we're still writing a lot of our citations on paper. The traffic units have printers, and they can print that out and get back, and cut a 15-minute traffic stop down to about 5 minutes, which gets them back out on the road and patrolling. There's rifles and that sort of thing. It's just, we got a surveillance platform vehicle that's an unmarked vehicle that was built in '97 that they've already refreshed the equipment inside once, and they may still run on VHS tapes. So it just goes back to general law enforcement needs. The duty weapon refresh, that's one of those no-brainers. The estimated cost to replace our weapons is $60,000. We're at the point now, probably 23, maybe 24, that they're going to need parts replaced, and our firearms instructors are anticipating about a $27,000 cost to maintain these guns, where you get a new whole set for $60,000, and you're good for another 8 to 10 years. Courthouse security, I was asked to put this on there because of some upgrades. Courthouse needs 22 new security cameras, and they need a server replacement. The body scanner, we've asked several times about getting one of those for the bookend. I think it was some of the ARPA money was looked at to try to get that from. I don't know where that's at. We ended up buying one of these out of the inmate commissary account because it does benefit other inmates in the facility if somebody's sneaking in drugs or guns inside their body. So we have one of those. We actually have 2 points of entry. We have regular people when they come in to be booked in, and then we have a trustee dorm where the trustees that go out every day come back. So if funds are available the second one down there in the trustee room. And the precision driving course, this is something that will benefit the entire county, not just the sheriff's office. I'm sure the fire department can benefit from some type of driver training, and any other departments that have people that drive. So this was one that was built, up in Michigan. The thing with this is the city of Douglasville is in the process of building one of these, and they've approached us and said, do y'all want to be involved in it? So that would help us get what we need at half the cost of building it. And if we don't, then there's going to have to be some kind of something worked out with them that we're going to have to be paying to use it anyway, because all our options have run out. Just to give you an idea, over my time, we used Six Flags parking lot, Chapel Hill High School, currently New Manchester. We used Chapel Hill. We've used the Walmart on Stewart Mill, Whitewater, Cobb County's driving course. We've even shut down Riverside Parkway to do pit training back in the day. We block it off, we do our pit training, we'd open it up, and they'd come through. So there's a real need for a driving course, and I think it may help reduce some insurance costs if all the counties could get involved and our instructors could do the training, and we've got courses and that sort of thing. I think if y'all looked, our insurance over the last few years has significantly increased, especially in the sheriff's office for vehicle. And then the command center that we talked about. So breaking it down into 4 main categories is building, vehicles, gear, and the driving course. But I know there's not, everybody's sitting there talking about, dang, that's a long list. We got a lot, there's a lot we do, and for a lot of citizens. And quite frankly, it's getting bare bones employees, and the ones that are there are young, inexperienced, and they're not what we used to have as far as experience wise. So we're spending a lot more time trying to not only acquire people, but to teach them the way to treat people, and how others want to be treated. And so it's a never-ending cycle, really.
Quick question, Chief Deputy Connors. Just thinking about how loud this driving course, is there any other counties around our area that has a coursing list that we could, possibly rent this out to?
Well, Cobb County has one, but it's a small, it's kind of basically a parking lot. Georgia State Patrol down at Gypstick has one, but there's not any other counties that I'm aware of that has anything like this.
I think we're kind of building.
Oh yeah, but there again, you're building a facility that's going to need maintenance, and we may have to, if we're going to do that and rent it out, then we're going to have more instructors that can be there, because it's our facility, and our whether we're training them or they're bringing their own instructors. But I guess we can work that stuff out with legal. But there would be, like I said, we've been doing this for years, just trying to find what we can, and it's to the point now where it's just, we're doing it at New Manchester High School in the summer when the students are there. And it's a simple thing where we're doing just a cone course, and then we do some braking downhill, but there's nothing that we teach for high speed pursuits, which is one of our high liability areas, or any kind of the pit maneuver. Where you got to be at least 30 miles an hour, to really make that realistic for the officers. And you can't use telephone pole, light poles and stuff in these parking lots. Just can't do it.
Bring back off there, but I want to make sure we've got $5 million of human capital improvement programs in the pocket. I think that's the number. So is there land already been identified as all the components that they already been, if I told you you got the money tomorrow,
So,
you wanna make sure I'm clear as to where you're at.
so when this was produced, the $5 million was with the expectation that the county had the property. We were looking at the old landfill at the time. Now, from what I understand, the city of Douglasville has got a piece of property on Bright Star Road that, they're working towards, and they're getting a little opposition from the residents in that area. But the city's got the property, and they're moving forward with their project. And I was told, that it was a very soft number of 17 million.
Your recommendation today, you want your own facility, or you're recommending you perhaps partner with Douglasville or others to be able to achieve the same goal? Now, make sure I'm clear, what you're recommending.
I think it would be silly to build two driving courses in this county when we have the ability to work with the city.
So, in terms of that, would that be a spark item, or would that just be a capital improvement?
Well, at this point, it's a capital improvement item, I'm trying to figure out, but it doesn't sound as though you could build one for $5 million. I mean, I guess you could build something, but not, but I'm just trying to figure out the numbers in there. That's not.
No, that 5 million was taking land that the county already owned and paving a big parking lot,
Okay.
which was the bare minimum that we would need.
So if you had to do that, you still do it.
Well, if it's
Find land.
yeah, it would depend on the land. I think that, yeah, we could do that, but there again, we're getting a cone course, some backing, and, you know, maybe some wet weather where, you know, you can wet the pavement down in an area, but, it would be bare bones. It would be somewhere for us to go that's not New Manchester High School or some parking lot somewhere else.
So, I guess while we're all, that's what I wanna make sure we all do, particularly when we get out of this meeting, we probably, may have numbers that may be different than the reality, certain things may change, I would probably encourage all of us to maybe, without the committee process, with the finance department, go back and make sure we understand what needs to be on that capital improvement. It may not make the SPLOST list, but getting on the capital improvement list, is important because it gives us a chance to see what we're thinking. I think I was under the assumption of $5 million, if I gave you the model that we'd be ready to go with a driving facility. They're not, they've been things change, and so I think we need to make sure that list is as possible and has input from the departments as well as we can get, because that's how we're using going forward as our planning tool. So, the cars, the driving facility, when that money is needed, when you can, switch it off and work, it's cheaper, obviously, to collect the money up front and fix those things if you can get them out of the way so they don't become a problem later. But I would encourage all of us to maybe sit with, people business at some point, to work through, not just what that project looks like, but when you really need it online, so that we can do the budget for it and find, the appropriate funds for it going forward. So.
I have a question. So who would facilitate Connor with the city? Because from what I hear you saying, they've already kind of designed it and they know where they're going and everything. So what could that be you? Would that be?
I think it probably would be on y'all's level with the city council, and working out, what, now the city and police department spearhead it, but of course they've got to have the approval, and it's very early on. I spoke with the deputy chief this week, and I think they've identified a piece of property, and the word's got out, and residents in that area is a little upset. visited some other places. I think they had to go out of state too. But they're in the very early stages of this development.
I would assume if we partner with them, you all would want some input as to what that would look like and.
Right, and you know, what they're, you know, of course, we all differ, even in our law enforcement activities. And what they may want, we may want to tweak. So their 17 million figure may change.
So we're at a good point now that if that's something that the county would like to do, then we need to start talking to them now to negotiate those numbers. Thank you.
Any other discussions on the sheriff's department's list? If not, we'll move forward to fire chief deputy, fire chief, Bill Bell.
Basically, what we did was, we submitted our capital improvement list, well, SWAT list, and we tried to prioritize based on, need versus payroll. And, looking at our list, we started out with, renovation of a station. And, first year, the ask was, 4.2 million to get those stations up to par. A lot of them have been around for a while, but then had the renovation things that need some of the main things like the roofing and the main issues that would cost a lot of money and repairs and all, based on our trends. Then we went down each year and, got 4.2 million the first year, 1.2, 1.2, 1.2, 1.2 for the remaining 5 years. Just looking at the cost. The next item is, 6 fire engines. Put 2 down immediate for the first and 1 additional year based on 5-year trend. The only thing about the fire engines is, a lot of times there's a build time. It takes a while for to get them built and for them to come in, and once they come in, and it's paid for. Normally you're talking about 24 to 36 months. That's what we a corporate purchase we spend on these. The other thing was SDJ, self-contained breathing apparatus. We went 2 million for those. They're very critical function for our personnel. So it's time to upgrade that system. And so we looked at that as a need. And then ambulances, we had 8 ambulances over a 5-year period. We put 4 down the first year, and 1 additional each year. A lot of the ambulances, fire trucks and stuff like that, we're still going to aggressively seek grants and stuff like that to offset some of the price. Then we had new PPE, personal protective equipment. We had 1 million the first year and 500 each additional year for the first 5 years. And what that is make sure our personnel have at least 2 sets of personal protective equipment. So when they go out to a scene, if they get contaminated, they have another set they can put on. And that goes along with our initiative to try to prevent cancer and stuff like that. But that's something that's throughout the industry. The rest of the departments, they have 2 sets to give their personnel. And once they contaminate a set, we have to do the washing, decontaminate and get them back in service so we can have that set readily available. The other issue was the training facility. That takes renovation. Right now, we have to update our training facilities. We have a facility right now that's leaking water and have some safety concerns for our personnel that's training. So we have 4 million on that immediate spend, and that will help with the burn building. We're trying to get a new burn building. What's happening is the burn building that we have now been around for about 15 years. A lot of cities a lot of partners who came in and helped burn building up. So now when people go in there and do training, it's ripping their turnout. The turnouts are very expensive, so we're trying to look at a way around that as well. Right now, we're looking at renting a set of gear for our new training people that go in there. And, we rent from a company, they will absorb the cost of any kind of damages that we may have. And when they get their new turnouts, that they won't be an issue. So hopefully have our new burn building pretty soon. The last one is the new, the renovation, interior, upkeep of our stations in terms of, our firefighters, they're 24 hours and they have to have a place to lounge and de-stress, so to speak. And so we want to make sure that they have a safe area as well as a comfort area for they can be ready for the next call. We put 1.2 million in that first year and 200,000 thereafter. The good thing about most of our spend is, like I said, sometimes it takes a while to get the equipment in, but we want to continue to seek grants and stuff like that. But also, we have a grant in right now for $10 million for personnel costs. So hopefully that'll come in. And then we're going to be putting in for a grant for 45 new slots for turnouts. Hopefully that'll offset some of the costs as well. So all of our ask right now is for the first year is relatively high. So we're able to make some adjustments if needed so we can look out for the other purposes. So we want to make sure we be good stewards and try to take the path and continue to deliver high quality service. That's all it is. I think our slot that we put in there is we had a top priority. We had cooking. So we're able to make some adjustments. Do what we have to do, especially with the renovation. We're gonna try to spread it out to all the stations, take care of things that's needed, especially our critical things.
Greatly appreciate all this information. I know it wasn't a little longer than we probably anticipated. But I think it was good to get all this information out here so that going forward, we know, or we have an idea of how to plan. I appreciate all of you taking the time or we appreciate you taking all the time to set aside the thing, let us know your actual needs, and then of course those that are, the wish list. I got to, of course, this being my first as board chair for this committee. I apologize for when I was doing roll call for missing my vice chair when doing roll call. But we'll improve as we go forward. But is there any other business we need to discuss?
I just need to clarify something.
Go ahead.
The 55,000 from the $400. I mean, 6,000. No, 650,000.
Yeah.
That was, I think that was for, back in June, it was a house, a historical house that we had originally looked at. And that's what the 600,000 was for the renovation of that house. And then when we found out that we needed a new building, that's where the 2.5 came in.
Okay. Anything else we need to discuss?
So one of the things I will commit to doing is reaching out to all of you individually one more time as we begin, we're looking for two things to happen. The board has requested that the capital improvement plan come back to the board for consideration. So part of our commitment to you is to make sure that whatever needs to be on that wish list It's thoughtful, it's intentional, and it reflects the true needs of each one of y'all departments. So we're gonna reach out, make sure that's right before it goes back to the board consideration. And then based on that list, we're gonna swap the existing swap list that's already been presented. Make sure that that is, you know, what's the board is gonna consider, and what we're gonna recommend is something that's close to what that list, what has already been communicated publicly, what's on that list, within the categories and the board has approved. So that's the process over the next, 2 to 3 weeks that we're gonna go through, to get to a point of finality, so we can begin to get some of the things done as quickly as we need. So that's pretty much it.
All right, if there's no other business to discuss, this meeting will be adjourned until our February 16th meeting.